car just to go and camp out in. Thought we'd go away for one night, give the car a test, give the whole camping setup a test. And while we're on our way to the coast, I thought we'd just run through a few of the, well, most of them are pretty normal Defender idiosyncrasies, if you like. And one of them is obviously a seating position. This is a 2008 TD4. The seat is quite substantial, so you sit quite far forward. Because of the build of the whole rear of the camper, you can't recline the seat anymore. So I find myself sitting a bit further towards the windscreen than I would like. The other thing is the seat has the extended runners on it. Obviously you can't get the seat further back because of the build, but it does sit a little bit higher, about that much, which gives you a little more easy on your knees if you've got long legs. What you do find yourself doing is you sit in line with the top of the door. So normally you're leaning down a bit if you want to see something outside in the distance. And what this car has is these wind deflectors, which are, I think they're glued on with a double-sided tape or something. And on the outside it looks very insignificant, just a little strip of plastic which helps when you open the window, keeps the wind out of your hair a little bit. I'm not sure it does its job very well because, as you know, in a Defender you're sitting right next to the door anyway. The problem with it is it's right in your sight line, so whenever you're trying to look at something you have to lean down a little bit just to see anything past it. Of course, it doesn't help that it's also been tinted. It's a bit darker than usual, and I'm not sure it's a good addition to the car, if we put it that way. Another thing that I find is the engine. This is the 2.4. It is a bit more noisy than the 2.2, but this one has had it's been chipped, let's put it that way. It's got more power than it comes from the factory. I'm still not sure whether that's a good idea. If you're towing heavy trailers on the highway, that's great, but in these little roads that we live in, there's hardly a straight road in Provence, he says, as you get to a 2-kilometer stretch, but mostly it's corners, and I find our old TDI is just perfect for that. It hasn't got much power, but I don't think it was intended to have a lot of power, these cars. As you know, the TD5 and the Puma after that, the power was limited to 120-ish horsepower, and everybody's wondering why so little. Well, you don't need more. You don't want to get yourself into trouble. I was watching Harry's Garage the other day, and he was reviewing the Range Rovers, and you have a 3.9 litre V8 and you get 185 horsepower. I was wondering why so little horsepower, but then I'm thinking, actually that's more than you need. But basically you're not in a hurry anyway, right? So it's relaxed cruising, just sit back and check out the dashboard, because that's the other part of this car which is a little bit strange. And mostly if you're doing a review or a commentary on a car, you actually give a shout out to the manufacturer and you say, you know what you should do in future, change this, or maybe change that, and this could be better. Obviously with a Defender that's not going to happen, especially the heating. This is basically an on-off switch. If you turn it any way past the blue area, it's full on hot. It doesn't get hotter or cooler, whatever you do to the dial. I've tried to use about 4 clicks, and the way you then use it is to turn the fan on or off. This is a little bit of heat, this is less heat. This is not ideal. The other side is the other dial. You can't have only hot air to your feet. You have to have a combination of them all, and it doesn't work very well. You find yourself getting quite hot, flushed in the face, and your feet are freezing. And I find our older TDI works a lot better with that. It's up or down and that's it, and it's a lot more effective for my liking anyway. What was specific to this car, this conversion from Extec, which was done by RR Concepts in France, is also that they've placed the the heater, the diesel heater, is under the cubby box now. So the cubby box had been raised by about 10 centimeters, I think. But for the rest of it, it's just a standard Defender, and there's no reason to be speeding around in this kind of car either. It is obviously a camper, and I'm not sure how normal campers drive around or how it feels to drive, but this is just a little more rolly in the corners. Besides that, it's very handy because it's the same size as the 110, it hasn't changed, so you can get into places where others can't really go. A lot easier in the interior of an old village or a medieval town. If you want to go and visit, it's no problem. So in that respect, it's good. Obviously you can go anywhere, go off-road, climb a mountain, get onto the beach if you're allowed to. Another thing I've noticed sound-wise, besides the engine, is the sloshing of water every time you turn a corner. I don't know if you can hear it, but every time you turn the corner there's a bit of water in the water tank, and there's another 10-litre water container just below here, and it sloshes around. And it just reminded me of my army time in South Africa, where we were issued a litre water bottle. We had to fill it up right to the top, and you were not allowed to drink the water, because as soon as you drink a little bit out of the water and you're running around, the water makes a noise and the enemy can find out where you are. So we found it annoyingly amusing that you were issued water but you weren't allowed to drink it, so it didn't make sense to us at all. And in the same way, I can understand, yeah, the water does make a bit of a noise when you're sloshing around the corners, especially on a rough track. So yeah, so far that's what I've seen on this car, which is different to the normal Defender experience.
We found a wonderful camping space and there are no neighbours, which is just absolutely amazing. We decided last minute, like this morning, that we wanted to go camping. We thought what a wonderful time to try out this amazing camper van of Chris and Elaine's. As you can see, it's just a disaster in the background, because normally all of these things have a place. The sleeping bag, which we almost left without, thanks to my wonderful husband who actually remembered, what are we going to sleep in? What about chairs? So normally all of these things would have a great spot. So it's all great for us thinking about how we want to do our van with our truck with the rebuilding of the inside. You know, where do we want to have stuff? What do we need accessible straight away? What do we need if we're going to stop somewhere on the road for a picnic? So tonight is all about experimenting and to see how this truck would suit our needs, and yeah, what we think of it and how we can take what we learn from this and adapt it to our truck.
Bed setup, obviously half of this bed would be out of the way so you can reach stuff more easily, which I'll do in a second. But here's the fridge. It's a front opening fridge. We've switched it on since we left the house. Look what I found in here. So there you have it. I think in less than a minute you can get set up, get everything squared away a little bit. Time for a quick beer, and we'll check out the rest of it and how it all works later when we start doing some dinner preparations.
With having absolutely everything that you need here, crockery, cutlery, plates, everything, it's amazing to be able to have all of this as and when you need it. But on such a beautiful day like this, I'm sorry, I want to cook outside.
I feel we just need to explain what we're doing here. This is a very nice setup. I'm very impressed by the way it's built. It's very well done. It's well thought out as well. 2 people, it's great. I'm just not quite comfortable using it because it's not our car, let me put it that way, which is maybe a disappointment for you guys watching this, when you probably think, oh, let's go attack, let's do everything. We showed you how the car looks inside. The owner showed us previous video, there's a link in the description below. Check that out to see exactly how everything's set up. But for us at the moment, I'm just keen to see how the bed works at night, how good the mattress is.
And the heating.
And the heating. We're going to try the heating out just now. It'll be about 2 degrees tonight, so it'll be nice to just try that as well. So yeah, for the moment, we're going to be sitting outside on the grass, having our glass of wine.
Of course, a camper van in France wouldn't be the same without wine, bread and cheese.
So guys, dinner is, what is that?
In progress.
In progress. That's a good one. That's a good one. Got some lamb chops.
Yep.
Really expensive, but worth it. Tell you what, this is why we go camping. So we don't pay much for our accommodation, but the meal.
That's in true French style. You know, this is not about all the material aspects. It's about enjoying the quality of life. Good food, great wine, sunshine, being outdoors. That's what living in France is all about. Sorry, I interrupted you, but
Yeah, sure. Pas de problème. So yeah, we're sitting outside our camper van for tonight anyway. And so far, I'm impressed with the way everything is stashed away in the car, which is all, everything's got its place. It's all very neat and tidy, and everything gets put away where it should be, so there's nothing rolling around in the back. Most of it's reachable. Like I said, when we arrived, we hadn't really given the car its justice, I think, because we just threw everything in the back and we left.
But you need time, don't you? You need time to get to know
the car. But that's just also how a lot of you guys go out camping, you know. You get home from work at 5 and you leave at 5:10 and everything's in the car and off you go, and you sort it out later. It doesn't give this car give it its best life, let's put it that way, because it's really set up really well and everything is very well done. Also, if it's cold outside, you spend time in the car. I think it's pretty well set up.
I hope so, because it's going to be starting to get pretty cold.
2 degrees, come on. -20, then we're talking cold. So all the Norwegians out there.
2 degrees is still cold when you're outdoors.
But for our purposes, obviously, as soon as the sun gets below the tree line, it drops the temperature quite fast. So I'm quite curious to see, try and figure out how the heater works. If we can't, we've got a blanket.
And each other.
You might see us in the morning, maybe not. So this is where this car comes into its own. I don't know if you can see this. But now, we're in the car.
I'm warming up my fingers that have been slightly frozen. It got really cold outside. And now we're inside. We're standing up, which is just amazing. But now what? Now what do? We're not used to being inside.
Well, we can have a little party in here. There you go. Have a little party in the car.
The heating works. Loving it, baby. Loving it. Warm. It's toasty. Just amazing. Chin.
Sitting inside the car now. It's about -15 outside. Actually, it's 5 degrees above. But anyway, this is where the car comes into its own. It's got its little heater going. We're sitting here. Got our radio on. Got some wine there.
Oh, mine's finished already.
And
It's so warm. It's incredible. If our car had this heater, I think we'd go camping like every weekend. Every weekend, I'm sure.
right. Morning, campers. We had a great night last night. It was impressively warm in the tent. And there is a heater which we'll show you as well, which you can flick on from the comfort of your bed upstairs, which is just fantastic. So I never figured out how to make it work for longer than 10 minutes at a time, so I put it on maybe twice. And during the night, about 3 AM, it got really hot in the tent, which is amazing. So there's top 2 portholes. We opened those at about that time, and it cooled us down a lot, because last night was basically Siberian temperatures. I think it was 5 degrees, and I sit here at like 5 or 6. And the car is just great for that kind of stuff, because it's like similar to a roof tent. The mattress is pretty good, it's quite firm. And the advantage is if you get out of the top section, you're in the car already. Everything's there, everything you need. So if you want to make a cup of tea, for instance, you can do that inside the tent if it's minus 15 outside. So yeah, very impressed so far. I'll show you some of the other things we did last night in the car, which is also quite handy, which you don't have if you have a roof tent, obviously. So yeah, there you can see the top. There are the portholes which you can open, which is very good. Gives a lot of ventilation. Ah, there's Her Highness.
Morning.
Let me have my tea. Oh yes. Now it's time to bring Her Majesty her tea in bed, obviously. Right guys, well, we've cleared away our bedding just to show you the size of the area up here. As you can see down there, there's the grill. And if I lie down with the space, it's about the size of a roof tent, I would say. And it's quite wide. These are the suction cups for the windows. There's a bit of proof. It was quite chilly last night. There's some condensation there, which is good. Up here is what I was talking about. This is the remote. This is ideal. From your bed you can put the heater on and it comes on and it stays on for about 10 minutes. You can set your temperature. Haven't figured out how the rest works, but it was perfect for us anyway. And it was quite warm in here. So much so that we opened the 2 portholes up here, which helped a lot with cooling us down, because we got quite hot at night actually. It goes like that. There's a little watch there, which is on British time. There's one here, gives us the time in the morning. These nets up here serve as a good space to keep those. And yeah, here's how we get down. Stand on there. So yeah, it's quite a nice area. I'm standing on the butt floor of the car now, and it's nice and open. So yeah, let's go ahead and fold up these 2 sections. That goes in there. And then we just slide the bottom end over the top as far as it'll go. About there. And there we have the sink as well, and the whole setup. And what we did in here, which was rather cool last night, we were sitting here. This bedding can go up here, out of the way. So we were sitting here with our laptop up here. Give you a quick demo like that. There we go. And we were reviewing our footage from yesterday, which was nice. Here's everything else you could need. In fact, here's another prep area. You can cut stuff on there or something like that. We've got these nice latches to stop rattling. There's more storage. And under here, I mean, you can just fill it up with anything you need. There's so much space here. In here you can put your laptops or your camera equipment. There's something under here as well. And behind here there's another opening, which is also empty at the moment. Under here, cooking implements, gas cookers, all that stuff. So yeah, you got plenty of space in here, and the advantage that I think is that if you're lying in your bed, you need something, you're still in the car, still warm, instead of climbing down that rickety old roof tent ladder. And yeah, that's my biggest gripe with our roof tent, and I'll put a link in the video below so you can see what our roof tent's like. It's one of the cheapest ones on the market. Bought about 6 years ago. The ladder is just shocking, which is a bit of a pity, but for the rest the tent's great. But yeah, so far from what we were saying yesterday, as in, yeah, this is, don't know what it's like, I'm not so sure. I've come away this morning thinking this is great. So now another cup of tea and then we'll pack it up. Beauty of a landy, you've always got somewhere to hang your rubbish bag. There's always some protrusion somewhere. So yeah, back to work, it's Monday.
Yep.
What are we looking for?
Gold medal from Concours Général de Paris, because Mirabos won 2 golds.
Wow, stunning. We had one of these as well on our back door, but we found we weren't even using it really, because if it's open you can't really get into the car, right? And we've got our table, and we always take our little table, and we end up not really using that as it should be, I think, which is maybe a bit of a pity, but yeah. So here's the other window, which you can open for ventilation as well. We didn't find where the blackout screen is for the back window. There is one, and there is one for here as well. Well, another thing that is pretty cool on this truck is the heater, which is mounted under the cubby box here, which is very neatly done. The T-Max is for the dual battery system, of course. It's just the controller there. This here controls the heater, and there's also one remote control which you can use from the bed, which is great. There's a USB in there, there's 2 USBs, which is good. Plug your phone in, do some work. Here's the inverter, there's a radio as well, I think there's VHF there. And you don't have to worry about it, because the beauty of this setup as well is there is a solar panel on the roof. So basically, it's plug and play, forget about it. You just plug all your stuff in, and the sun takes care of the rest. Obviously the batteries are separate, so the battery for the car is always there when you need it. So, what are we looking for here?
I must say I'm very impressed. It was very comfortable and warm, which is just wonderful. So it makes camping in winter very possible.
Right, time to get back to work, so let's close up this bad boy, and I'll show you how we do this. First time I've done this, and it was told all you need to do is keep the canvas indoors and drop the roof. So here goes. Try and guide it in a little bit. Check everything's in. Not up the back. There we go. Put the latches on. Good to go. Right, something that as a TDI owner you might recognize, but if you don't own a Land Rover you probably don't do this so often. But actually what we try and do every week, check the oil level. Very important. So, got a piece of paper, pull the dipstick out obviously. Good stuff. Right, back on the road. We're doing some highway work now because we have work commitments and we've run out of time. I prefer the back roads, you see a lot more, the pace is a lot more sedate. However, on the highway you do about 100, 110 kilometers an hour, and it's fine, you know, I mean it's not too loud at all, right? But basically what we have is the cubby box. The main thing is the cubby box is now about that much higher. So your elbow is resting on the cubby box, and it makes changing gear a little bit difficult, because especially getting into 6th, so normal motion of changing gear is a little bit impeded by the high cubby hole. It also makes the cubby box. It also makes it a little bit more confined, so you're very separated, left and right, passenger and driver. The ceiling above me is obviously the bed. It's quite a bit lower. If I sit up normally, and the netting will just brush my hair, and I'm about 6'2". So that's something else. It's also black, so it's quite confining. The radio is a standard Land Rover unit with a CD player in it. It's a very tinny sound, maybe you can hear this. And you can't adjust the bass on that, and the speakers are not very substantial. And I've heard better in Land Rovers. In fact, the new 2.2 Puma has a Pioneer unit in it, which looks quite cheap and nasty, but it's got everything in it. You can connect your phone, it's Bluetooth, it's got a USB port, so you can charge your phone. And you can adjust the sound level a little bit, so you get a little more quality of sound. But if I was owning this car, I would obviously change that. So yeah, on the highway, it's perfectly agreeable. I mean, it's just loping along. We're not in a hurry at all. As you know, you're pushing a brick through the air, so you're going to use a lot more fuel the faster you go. So 100 is a nice sweet spot, sometimes 110, but in this case we're not really in a hurry because we're managing to do our work on the road, of course.
Yes.
And yeah, actually on the highway it's quite stable because you don't have many corners, as we saw yesterday. In the back roads you do lean a lot in the corners. This engine has a lot of grunt. So you put it in 6th gear and you leave it there and it just rolls all day long. The fuel consumption is very similar to a TDI, I would say 10 or 11 liters per 100, which isn't too bad. It depends on your driving style and how fast you need to get where you want to be. But for general use, as it is a camper, you're not really in a hurry. And you just, you know, see how far we get today and then we camp out there, you know. Okay, you have campers and then you have campers. This one is the latter. So yeah, you're basically looking at the same thing we're driving, but come on. Well, what would you rather do? So overall, very impressed with the build in the back as well, which is very well done. Everything has its place. It's a good option if you're doing a lot of camping and you want to keep your Defender looking quite standard. Besides a raised roof, but that much higher, you wouldn't even know it's a camper. And also the weight is not too much. I think it's about 300 kilograms. It is quite high up, so you do feel that rolling motion a little bit more. But besides that, you don't really feel that you're driving a big heavy truck around in that respect. And in fact, if you have a roof tent on your 110 or your 90, you'll understand a bit about the rolling motion. So I hope you've been informed of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have, give us a like down below. From southern Provence, middle of winter, 15 degrees. I mean, this is ridiculous. So catch you next time. Cheers.